Watt would not be in my top 5 right now. This is nothing personal against him. He seems like a fine guy, and he's an excellent football player. But right now, I'm still going Tom Brady, then Aaron Rodgers, then Peyton Manning, then DeMarco, and then Phillip Rivers. That's my top 5. This is just me with watching J.J. Watt carefully over the last couple of years. He does not wreak the kind of havoc that a guy that you grew up loving used to wreak. I'm talking about Lawrence Taylor, where you just watch him jump off your TV screen. You say, that guy is not blockable. There are times that J.J. Watt looks blockable to me. I know he has the little added bonus that it's cute that he's caught 3 touchdown passes, and I do not disagree with the notion that if he committed to playing tight end, I think he could be a Pro Bowl tight end in this league, but he can't be the MVP when he's playing for a team that is 6-6 and a defense that's given up the 27th most yards in the National Football League. And again, he can't cover receivers and do all the other things. I just don't see him wreak havoc the way Bruce Smith used to wreak. When the Cowboy teams I used to cover would play Buffalo in the Super Bowls, they would tell me before the games, we don't know if we can block Bruce Smith with 2 people. We're just not sure of that. With JJ, I don't know that he's that kind of overwhelming force yet in the National Football League, so he's not an MVP candidate to me.
To me, he is, Skip Bayless. I wouldn't go that far. I'd have him 4th or 5th on the list, but, you know, obviously Aaron Rodgers would be number 1 for me.
Well, Tom Brady
would be number 2, okay? And if you want to take somebody like a Peyton Manning or even a DeMarco Murray and put them ahead of the game, I'm with that, even though I'd put him ahead of either Phillip Rivers or DeMarco Murray. I would challenge that. He's got 11 and a half.
Well, listen,
I understand that. The team is 6-6, but it's a team game. I'm looking at him. I'm looking at the 11 and a half of Houston's 25 sacks. I'm looking at the 3 forced fumbles. I'm looking at the 5 fumble recoveries. I'm looking at the fact that he's been playing this year without Jadeveon Clowney. I'm looking at the fact that they've got Ryan Fitzpatrick and Ryan Mallett as their quarterback. Basically no offense to speak of, obviously notwithstanding what transpired last week.
Yep.
And I think that the Houston Texans are a respectable team, and he has a lot to do with that because he is somebody that's a spark plug for them because of his versatility, impact, or whatever. Not only that, but I was talking to Ray Lewis on my show yesterday. Of course, I'm going to give it a plug, Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time every weekday. The bottom line is Ray Lewis made a very, very valid and salient point when he said defensive players rarely get noticed for anything because they don't have the numbers to show for it. He said, do you do your job? And do you do your job at an elite level? I don't think anyone can refute that. So, again, we wouldn't give him the MVP nod over the elite players performing at an elite level in this game. But I think middle-of-the-road dudes in terms of the MVP discussion, he belongs in there. And that's why I said I would give him consideration. Certainly not strong consideration against an Aaron Rodgers, against a Tom Brady, or a Peyton Manning. But would I give him consideration against a Phillip Rivers? Yes, I would.
Okay, but if his team were 12-0 and their calling card was their defense and only their defense, I could start making the case. But again, you brought up Ray Lewis. There were several years in which I thought Ray Lewis deserved to at least be a top 3 candidate for MVP.
Okay, that's
and again, you can argue with me, well, he was shielded by all those elephants they had, you know, across their defensive front. He could just see ball, seek ball, and hit ball carrier. But listen, Ray Lewis was the driving force of that defense. I'm not sure I'm seeing that yet.
Fair. You're right. But I would say to you that the reason why I would look at DeMarco Murray and Phillip Rivers in a different light than I was looking at them weeks ago is because their teams fell off. And now, at least in case of San Diego, they seem to be coming back. But San Diego and Phillip Rivers fell off a little bit.
They did.
A little bit. And all I'm
he's
saying
only
is,
playing with his 5th center.
I understand. And I understand that. That deserves consideration. I'm just looking at J.J. Watt and how he has very, very little help. And we look at the Houston Texans right now. Didn't expect much from them to begin with. They're a 500 football team after losing 14 straight games last season.
Look,
I think he has a lot to do with
I understand.
that.
He's a sensational player. He's high motor. He's gifted. We know that. But when we're talking about should he be in this race, I just don't think so.
I think the only 3 for surefire bets are Rodgers, Brady, and Peyton. I think everybody else that we mentioned, you can say the same thing about them.
Rodgers, Brady, and Peyton. You say
I got
Brady, Rodgers, and Peyton.
I got Brady, Rodgers, and Peyton.
Rodgers,
I wrote it down right there.
I think Rodgers settled that argument this past weekend.
You know, if Gronkowski had just controlled that a little bit at the ground,
Then Aaron Rodgers would have had the ball
No.
with a little over a minute and a half left, and a 2-minute drill would have been
Revis
effective.
would have made a play.
You understand? And
Would have made a play.
Aaron Rodgers
No.
would have closed
Revis would have made
the
one
deal.
play, and it would have been
Aaron
over.
Rodgers, he's a bad man.
At Lambeau, he is.
Bad man.
Unless it's a playoff game.
20 touchdowns, 0 interceptions at home. 32 touchdowns, 3 interceptions overall.
One
Okay?
pass to Gronkowski. If he controls it, we're having a whole different discussion.
Speaking of quarterbacks, we asked you earlier who should get the start.